provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines on First at 9. The assassination conspiracy. A ministerial-level investigation to be conducted against the Inspector General of Police. Another fork in the road. President Maithripala Sirisena laments lack of cabinet positions given to northern and eastern politicians. What lies beneath? World Patriotic Lankan Forum accuses UN of discrimination against Sri Lanka and Myanmar.
Whose work on Myanmar is right now being praised by every single person.
Yeah, it's obvious why they are working on Myanmar too.
I'm sorry, but
we have an explanation.
No,
because we both are there about the Buddhist countries, that's the reason.
Free falling rupee. Minister Mangla Samaraveera in Parliament insists that the rupee is strong as the currency continues to plummet.
In Sri Lanka's case, basic indicators remain positive and are moving in the correct direction.
Brexit pressure. British Prime Minister stresses the need for both EU and UK to evolve their positions. A very good evening to all our viewers who are joining us here on First at 9 at Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. Conjecture surrounding the position of the Inspector General of Police deepened with certain media reporting that both the President and the Prime Minister had instructed IGP Pooja Jayasundara to resign within 2 weeks. The Government Information Department, however, moved to refute the reports today through a communique. In the meantime, in Parliament, Deputy Minister of Law and Order Nalin Bandara said in Parliament today that an investigation will be launched into the conduct of the IGP at ministerial level.
Certain media outlets reported that the President and the Prime Minister had informed the Inspector General of Police, Pooja Jayasundara, to resign from his post within 2 weeks based on the allegations levelled against him. The hotly debated topic also took centre stage in Parliament today.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා අගමැතිතුමා දෙදෙනාම පොලිස්පතිතුමාට සති දෙකක් ඇතුළත ඉල්ලාස් වෙන්න කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් කරලා තියෙනවද අපි දැක්කා උදේ.
We saw that there were various media reports with that news. However, as far as we know, no such request is made and it is the media who made the request.
මේ ඉල්ලීම කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ජනාධිපතිවරයා
Media reports say that the President asked him to resign by calling him over the phone.
තමයි මාධ්‍යවල යන්නේ. මෙහෙමයි දුර.
We don't listen to his telephone conversations and no such thing has taken place as far as we know. Honourable Speaker, I think even you called the IGP and advised him on his conduct, but it has not changed. As the Deputy Minister overseeing the police, what are your thoughts? Do you accept this? We're taking measures at ministerial level on allegations against the IGP. Do you mean that the Ministry of Law and Order has commenced investigations on allegations against the IGP? The Minister has directed the Secretary of the Ministry to take measures at ministerial level. The Government Information Department meanwhile announced today that media reports suggesting that the IGP was asked to resign by the President and the Prime Minister are false. The National Police Commission also convened today with the participation of IGP Pooja Jayasundara. He, however, refrained from engaging with media following the meeting. The conduct of the IGP was also a topic discussed by various politicians today.
Police ඔත්තුකරුවෙක් වෙච්ච නාමල් කුමාර තමයි කියන්නේ.
Namal Kumara, who is an informant of the police, says DIG Nalaka de Silva spoke to him. We say that Nalaka Silva has connections with the LTTE. He took away several terrorists who are connected to the Chawakacheri incident. They were remanded and now they are released. Did this happen as a move to topple the government, or is it an act by a foreign force? We call on those responsible to reveal the facts and to take legal measures. Pooja Jayasundara is someone who has served the country. As far as I know, there is no such assassination conspiracy. We told the President in confidence and we are repeating it at this briefing. It is to pay special attention to his security and to take over police, considering it to be an emergency situation. They should have arrested him immediately and conducted investigations. But he is not even interdicted. The entire country knows that the certificate produced by DIG Nalaka Nalaka de Silva, depicting that he graduated from Hyderabad University, is a false claim. The letter he produced to become DIG is fake and he can be arrested for that. Meanwhile, the organisation dubbed Sinhala Api filed a case at the Criminal Investigations Department accusing that both Namal Kumar and former DIG of the Terrorist Investigation Division, Deputy Inspector General, are connected to the violence in Theldenia of Kandy last March. There are 10 suspects in prison arrested over the incidents that took place in Theldenia Kandy. It was Namal Kumara who gave information to arrest these suspects. Recently, we visited these suspects in prison who insisted that they have no connection with the incident. It was Namal Kumara who prompted these youth from Anuradhapura and Trincomalee to act. He called them and said that Sinhalese were being attacked by Muslims and sought help in retaliation. We are sure that the person who set up these suspects and created this drama was DIG Nalaka de Silva.
President Maithripala Sirisena highlights lack of cabinet ministerial opportunities for politicians from the north and east as contributory factor in the country's decade-long conflict. Addressing a function at Gomarakandawala today, the head of state said successive governments since 1947 failed to do so, but a change in that course of action would have led to a more meaningful devolution of power. Addressing the same event, leader of the opposition, R. Sambandhan, said that power should be devolved peacefully in an undivided state.
We have a great president at present. He is working to unite the country and developing it. Our president thinks that power should be devolved among people peacefully within an undivided country. That is what should happen. On the issue of power devolution, I am raising one matter. How many cabinet ministerial posts were given to ministers from the north and east since 1947? Had it happened, we wouldn't have experienced a war. People's issues are resolved if development takes place around them. Political parties like the UNP and the SLFP used MPs from the north and east to retain their power. Little attention was given to the issues of the people in the north and east. At the same time, regional politicians were not given powers. That was the reason behind the issues which erupted in the north and east.
The World Patriotic Lankan Forum held a special meeting on the sidelines of the 39th UNHRC session in Geneva yesterday. The meeting was devoted to dispel allegations of genocide levelled against Sri Lankan security forces over their conduct during the last stages of the armed conflict with the terror group LTTE, on the grounds that they are unsubstantiated. Addressing these, a present executive committee member of the World Patriotic Lankan Forum, Professor Chanajai Sumna, drew parallels between the United Nations treatment of Sri Lanka and Myanmar, saying both countries are dealt an unfair hand by the global body owing to their Theravada Buddhist majority populations.
In retrospect, what did this military achieve or get in return that saved all these hundreds of thousands of Tamil civilians? They were accused of killing innocent Tamil civilians, of being war criminals by the very Western countries that are killing hundreds of thousands in these other countries in proxy wars. LTT activists using fake and staged dramas, spending millions of dollars for mainstream media propaganda across the world. But how does United Nations maintain that neutrality with their investigation proving conflict of interest? This is absolute blatant violations of United Nations Human Rights Council's own code. Have you gone through the Darusman's report?
Many times.
Yeah. Do you agree with the methodology used to collect the evidences?
Yes. There was one huge problem, and this has
Yes, what is the problem?
There's been one big problem all the way through, and that is at no stage has the government of Sri Lanka allowed any of the UN inquiries to set foot in Sri Lanka.
Do you agree with me that this is an internal issue of Sri Lanka? This
Well,
is
it is such an internal issue that the government of Sri Lanka requested international support to be able to provide for the needs of its internally displaced. Those are decisions taken by Sri Lanka and its sovereignty. Now, once you have done that, there become certain obligations and it becomes a partnership.
It's a matter of the methodology used to collect evidences.
I am not responsible.
Anyone can fabricate these things and for a lot of lies in the report. So,
well, I would caution you against questioning two of the most eminent authorities whose work on Myanmar is right now being praised by every single person.
Yeah. It's obvious why they are working on Myanmar too.
I'm sorry, but
so we have an explanation.
No,
because we both are Theravada Buddhist countries. That's the reason.
No,
no need to go and meet because it's there in the papers.
You haven't asked them why they're not replying to your questions. I don't think they know about them, by the way.
No point of talking
Anyway,
about that.
Okay, sir.
The Sri Lankan rupee continued to be on its downward spiral today as the local currency fell to an all-time low of 168 rupees and 63 cents against the US dollar. Now, over the past few weeks, members from the opposition have been touching on the subject, heavily criticizing government's lack of efforts to defend the currency against the market forces. Given the current state of affairs, Minister of Finance Mangala Samaraweera made a special statement in Parliament today, saying the government steered clear of selling off country's reserves to rein in the currency's free fall, which certainly would have been the easy option.
The Sri Lankan rupee, which has weakened nearly 4% so far this month and 9.2% this year, hit a record low for the 7th straight session today. It was weighed down by importer demand for the scarce US currency following the trade dispute between the United States and China over the past few months. Emerging market economies in the Asian region have come under severe pressure during the last few weeks as the rising US interest rates and trade fears have pushed worldwide investors to avoid Asia and move money to the US. Some Asian countries have been hit hard by the sell-off of emerging market assets such as Indonesia, India as well as Sri Lanka. However, a video where Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, expressing views on the matter has been circulating in social media recently, where he addresses some of the economists' concerns. Within a short period of time, the rupee depreciated by 12% from 2011 to 2012, and in 2015 it depreciated by 9% in a short span of time. During the time between 2011 and 2012, the rupee depreciated by 12%, even after spending $4 billion worth of reserves. It was only our currency that was affected back then. But when it comes to 2018, our reserves are not affected yet and have increased so far this year, allowing us to save money to pay debt. Meanwhile, the current rupee depreciation and its effects to the economy was heavily discussed in Parliament today. Do you agree that the biggest economic downfall in Sri Lanka's history is currently happening? We need to pay 170 rupees for a US dollar. What is your solution to the cost of living? Value of the US dollar has risen against all currencies across the world. The Sri Lankan rupee is much stronger than many other currencies. I accept that there is a problem when importing products, but there is no problem when exporting. Please hands out this graph, which says that the Sri Lankan rupee was never affected in 2011 or in 2013 when the Indian rupee heavily depreciated. The Sri Lankan rupee depreciated by 10.43% in 2012, but the same didn't happen when we had so many problems this time around. When the previous government came to power, we only paid 105 rupees for a dollar. We went through the global fuel crisis, the global food crisis, the global economic crisis, and all other external factors and still managed to maintain the rupee at 131 rupees against the US dollar by the time we left, which means the currency only depreciated by 26 rupees over 10 years. But after you came to power, value of the dollar has risen by over 40 to 50 rupees and the economy is affected by shock waves.
The primary determinants of the demand for currency are export and import of goods and services and net capital flows. In Sri Lanka's case, these basic indicators remain positive and are moving in the correct direction. What is the alternative approach to managing the currency? An approach advocated by some of those in opposition is that the central bank should defend the currency and prevent currency depreciation by going against market forces. The only way to defend the currency is for the central bank to sell its hard-earned US dollar reserves and buy rupees from the market to artificially prop up the value of the rupees. This might have been possible if we did not have to make US dollars 4.5 billion worth of external debt repayments in 2019 and a similar figure in 2020. Artificial currency defense is a myopic and unsustainable strategy. A country will eventually run out of reserves and will then require a bailout. Furthermore, an artificially appreciated exchange rate creates further macroeconomic imbalances. It makes exports relatively expensive and it makes imports artificially cheap. This further erodes the balance of payments and can trigger a currency crisis. Advocates of currency defense perhaps inadvertently are prompting imports over domestic products and exports. We have addressed the fundamental factors affecting the currency within our control while remaining committed to prudent macroeconomic policies. We have not taken the easy but irresponsible path of selling down our reserve this year. At the same time, we are putting in place measures to permanently improve our external inflows.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa stands at the ready to topple the current government, insisting that it will be achieved at the earliest opportunity. The former president made the insistence during a meeting with artists in Panadura yesterday.
A meeting between members of the Free Arts Guild, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa took place in Panadura yesterday. The former President and the former Defence Secretary also joined a felicitation ceremony for veteran tele and cinema artists. Facilities we set up for the artists are halted by the present government. We built a place called Ranminithanna for artists. Several plots of land from that location are taken to construct some housing complexes. They are just like shanties. The artists were given various promises during the election by the government. Today we are losing our country and I feel we won't have a country by 2020. Sometimes I think why I built a highway in the south, a harbour and an airport, allowing the present government to make commissions by selling those properties. But I'm happy over one thing, that is people's vigilance over these matters. We are ready to topple this government at the very first opportunity we get.
The joint opposition argues that according to government's new fuel pricing formula, there is a risk that price of petrol might hit the 200 rupee mark and diesel to go up to 180 rupees per litre over the next few months. Addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today, joint opposition member Ramesh Pattarana also said that differences between former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Indian government are now ironed out, following former president's recent visit to neighbouring country upon the invitation of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party.
If there had been a small misunderstanding during the time of 2015 presidential election, we have to clearly spell out the fact that those differences are now ironed out. So it was over the invitation of Bharatiya Janata Party that His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa went to India, and also India has now realized the fact that the Indo-Sri Lanka political relationships could be further strengthened only with a government of Mahinda Rajapaksa being established in this country. So it's very clear that it's with a new government which is headed by His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa that we can better control Indo-Sri Lanka relationships and also better manage Indo-China relationships.
The parliamentarian also touched on the newly introduced fuel pricing formula.
At that time, price of the litre of petrol in this country was 160 rupees. But the price of diesel litre was 111 rupees in December 2014. But at that time, price of the barrel of a crude oil was 119 US dollars, whereas today it is 78. So when the crude oil is 78 US dollars per barrel, today the government is selling petrol at 150 rupees and also diesel at 123 rupees, which is higher than our government. If the price of crude oil goes up to 120 like in our government, as per the equation that the government put forward, the price of the petrol will go up to 225 rupees per litre, and also the price of the diesel will go up to about 180 rupees per litre.
The fifth batch of devotees who won the privilege to take part in the program Dhammadiva Vandana, organised by FM Derana, paid homage at the Pirinivan Manchakaya in Kushnagara today, where Lord Buddha Gautama attained Parinirvana. Following the visit to Kushnagar on the sixth day of the pilgrimage, the devotees later made their way to the historical site of Bodh Gaya. The program Dhammadiva Vandana, organised by FM Derana, has now entered into its sixth phase. Approximately 400 ETI depositors and members of the Independent Association to Protect ETI Depositors held a meeting at the auditorium of the Colombo Library this morning to discuss ways to recover their deposits. Thereafter, the depositors made their way to ETI headquarters in Boralda. When they arrived at the location, however, an official informed the group that the said building no longer belonged to the ETI Finance. Thereafter, the protesters held demonstrations opposite the building for about an hour, noting that they will not leave the location unless they are granted the opportunity to hold discussions with the organization heads. And with that, let's cross over to a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. On business news, we start off with some local business stories. The Board of Directors of the Asian Development Bank has approved a $10 million technical assistance loan to finance the establishment of a facility that will help improve the design and implementation of urban projects in Sri Lanka, particularly with climate resilient and inclusive features to make cities more livable. Issuing a statement yesterday, the ADB said that there is a need for better and more timely delivery of urban infrastructure services in the country, with more than 20% of the country's population living in cities that contribute about 40% of the GDP. However, based on ADB's experience in Sri Lanka, there is a need to strengthen long-term strategic investment planning and engineering capacity in urban departments to meet the increasing challenges of urbanization. Moving on to some international business news now. The European Union says Facebook and Twitter face sanctions unless they comply with European consumer rules by the end of the year. The warning comes as EU regulators continue to crack down on US social media giants over privacy concerns. Online platforms have come under fire in Europe because of their dominance and anti-competitive business practices, resulting in hefty fines handed down to some companies. The European Commission said today, 7 months after being told to bring their user terms in line with EU regulations, both Facebook and Twitter have yet to fully address all the issues. A Commission spokesman said Twitter should also make the necessary changes by the end of the year. Now, Sri Lankan shares dropped to their lowest close in 30 months today. Accordingly, the all-share price index ended 0.88% weaker at 5,922.18, its lowest close since 9th of March in 2016. The turnover was 547.6 million rupees today, and foreign investors sold a net 137 million rupees worth of shares, extending the year-to-date net foreign outflow to 5.2 billion rupees worth of equities. For a detailed report, we now have Nisansala Krupamudali from First Capital Holdings.
Bourse ended in red, dragged down by John Keels and Nestle, recording the lowest in 30 months. The all-share price index witnessed a continuous downtrend throughout the day and closed at 5,922, losing 53 points. Both turnover and volumes had decreased, while nearly 52% of revenue was derived by big cap John Keels. A net foreign outflow was witnessed for the second consecutive day with high foreign participation.
Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day. European countries warn that time is running out for a Brexit deal ahead of more talks in Salzburg. In the EU summit last evening, British Prime Minister Theresa May stressed her serious proposal for future cooperation would ensure a shared closed relationship. European Commission Chief Jean-Claude Juncker described her 10-minute presentation as interesting.
Upon arriving in Salzburg for an EU summit, British Prime Minister Theresa May stressed the need for both the EU and the UK to evolve their positions in order to strike a successful Brexit deal.
It's the only credible and negotiable plan on the table that delivers no hard border in Northern Ireland and also delivers on the vote of the British people. And if we're going to achieve a successful conclusion, then just as the UK has evolved its position, the EU will need to evolve its position too.
In the evening, she appealed directly to fellow European Union leaders to drop unacceptable Brexit demands that she said could rip Britain apart, urging the bloc to respond in kind to a serious and workable plan. At the summit dinner table laid in the Salzburg theatre, May was given the floor. She tried to win over her 27 peers by effectively asking them what they would do if they were asked to agree a legal separation of their countries, something she says the EU is asking for by insisting Northern Ireland might stay under EU economic rules. This, however, was the reaction May's efforts received from the European Commission President.
It was interesting, it was polite, it was not aggressive. She's doing her job.
We have very clear principles regarding the integrity of the single market and regarding precisely the Irish border. It was precise in March and it was endorsed by the 27 members.
South Korea's President Moon Jae-in says North Korea's leader wants to complete a denuclearization quickly and hold a second summit with Donald Trump soon. Moon Jae-in ended a landmark trip to North, said Kim Jong-un also wanted US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to visit again. Pompeo said earlier he was ready to restart negotiations stalled since the first Trump-Kim summit in June. Pompeo said the aim was denuclearizing North Korea by 2021. Moon Jae said that Kim Jong-un expressed his wish that he wanted to complete denuclearization quickly and focus on economic development. We will join you with some sports news after this commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
The trophy tour of the official World Cup that will be awarded for the winners of the 2019 Cricket World Cup arrived on Sri Lankan soil today.
The ICC Cricket World Cup Trophy Tour embarked on its journey around the globe from the International Cricket Council headquarters in Dubai on the 27th of August and will tour 60 cities in 21 countries. The speciality of this tour is that the International Cricket Council has decided to take it to 11 countries that does not play cricket. Accordingly, the trophy arrived in Sri Lanka today after travelling to Oman, America and the West Indies. The trophy will be exhibited to public in Gullface Green on the 22nd before heading for another destination on the 25th. The 2019 Cricket World Cup trophy will tour around the globe for a total of 90 days.
On to your weather forecast now. Temperatures over the next 24 hours are to vary between 20 to 35 degrees Celsius, with the highest temperature expected from areas in the eastern province. Looking at your rain forecast, the upper region of the island will mostly see sunny weather conditions, while showers are expected in the lower regions including Colombo, Kandy and Galle district. With that, let's now take a look at your city-by-city forecast. And that is it from Derana First at 9 for tonight. But before you go, we will leave you with some visuals from Alla. Located in the Badala district, Alla is a small town rich with biodiversity, surrounded by cloudy forests and tea plantations. We hope you enjoy these visuals and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.